It's Wednesday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I don't know what my name is today because between the ladies of Your View and our producer, they couldn't figure out what to call me. So maybe our viewers can send me a name. Essay. Some said Queen Idia, some said something Queen Mother. We don't know what it is. Either way, welcome to the show. My previous name used to be Mariah Falabi Brown. Hopefully, before the end of today, we'll find out the new name I'll be giving. How you doing, Alaja? You're not Alaja today. What are you?
I'm from the south today, Ibibio.
Nice.
Cross Rivers, I think this is their attire for the men.
For the men.
And because I always cover, so it's where I'm well covered. I'm representing them. So make sere to my people in the south. Yes.
Good. How you? Where are you from today?
Oh no, I'm from the north. My name is Hajia Halima.
I like the Hajia Halima.
Hajia Halima.
Good to see you.
Yes,
Hajia.
na good day.
Where are you from today?
I'm from the southeast today. I'm at Adez, the king's daughter.
I know you go know that one. How you doing, Nima? What's going on? Anything happening?
I'm grateful to God. This is our road. I didn't want to talk about it. Let me just focus on Anu's work. So, our stylist is Anu Bams on Instagram.
Oh, yeah. So, I was going to say, let's appreciate Anu Bamigboye.
Anu Bams, thank you.
Beautiful attire.
Yes.
Thank you.
Her brand name is Anu Bams, like Nima had just said. And our Instagram page and Facebook handles are Anu Bams Signature. I tagged the wrong person yesterday, so please, let's get her Anu Bams Signature. Her phone numbers are 0813-151-7992, 080-3821-8536. Please, if you need costumes, if you need designs such as these, please contact her. She'll be available to sort you out. I mean, we have to thank her. She's been amazing so far.
She's been amazing.
Yeah. Yes.
I have rant. I came to rant. Nima would not understand why I was grumbling this morning. So
what did the government do to you today?
It's not even government, it's we the people. You know, so I gave a bulldozer contract and I was trying to get a recommendation for bulldozer. One person told me that there is no bulldozer driver or contractor I can recommend. So I paid 90% of someone to clear 10 acres of land, started work on Saturday, claimed he worked Sunday and Monday, and called me yesterday to balance him. I said, I cannot balance you until my surveyor measures what you worked. My surveyor got there and said he barely cleared 1 acre of land. And I paid you 90%, and you were calling me for balance.
Christmas.
As in, no, it's not even just about. It's just about the fact that I'm not thinking in my head. I felt like crying yesterday. Like, should I have paid? I need to get a house in Ekpe right now because I need to employ someone that will live in Ekpe, and I need to to monitor. We have to keep monitoring people. And that's to give somebody a job.
That's more cost.
That's more cost. Yeah. Can't I give you a job and expect that if I give you the job, you will do your work?
Hajia, no vex.
Vex not.
You actually look like Hajia today, like perfectly Hajia. Anything. I hope the government don't do anything to you.
No. I'm good. I'm taking it one day at a time, getting ready for the care mentorship happening in January 28th. So registration has started. Register to get your 2023 organized and powerful.
Fantastic. So I was at the event yesterday. Chief Dele Momodu's 30th anniversary was his wife's 55th birthday, Auntie Mobolaji Momodu, and their son's 25th birthday, and then the Ovation Christmas Carol. It was really nice. It was a nice four-in-one event yesterday. It was really nice. I had fun. It was a great experience. Fantastic. Okay, now let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we go through the front pages of the papers. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Okay, we're going to start with the nation. Tinubu unveils funding plan for infrastructure revolution. CBN releases securities features of new Naira notes. Governor's OK plan to sell off 5 power plants. Senate confirms Onoche, Ogumola, 11 others for NDDC board. Shema camp, PDP leader Sean Atiku's Castina rally. Okupe quits as Obi's campaign DG. Which story are we starting with?
The Central Bank of Nigeria yesterday
responded.
yes, highlighted security features in the redesigned Naira notes to reaffirm the safety of our legal tender. So they
remind our viewers that we discussed it the day before, and we're happy that
they have responded. And I saw the viral video of the 1,000 Naira they said it was counterfeited. I've seen the real Naira notes. They look they are totally different. I've seen that, first hand I can say that.
Okay,
so the security features, they said 23 features are on the 1,000 Naira note, 15 features on the 500 note, 10 features on the 200 Naira note. And they went ahead to explain how you can tell them apart. It was a very long post on how it's done, but it says that there are certain things you have to see that would differentiate both of them. It said, according to the Apex Bank, to recognize the 1,000 Naira notes, users should look out for intaglio raised print, portrait watermark, officially variable ink that changes from blue to green with change in angle of the view, kinagram with the image of 1,000 and coat of arms, indecent band, widowed metallic security thread, and all other things. Right. And I was wondering how a common man will be able to identify all of these things. That they should just make sure that they catch the people who are counterfeiting this money so that we don't have plenty of them in circulation. So
the APC flag standard bearer was in Cross River yesterday. When people are asking for specifics, well, he was quite specific on his plans on infrastructure and how to revamp the economy. He said that he was there actually with his vice presidential candidate, and they were talking about how they plan to reignite the infrastructure of our country. He said he's a progressive. The progressives are the ones that drive the economy. He said they plan to create long-term money and face it squarely. According to him, they want to change the fiscal confusion between the monetary policy and the fiscal policy. We always having that issue. He said they're going to be accountable, block the loopholes, untangle the bottlenecks, accelerate processing, answer questions, timely regularization of money and treasury notes, amongst others. So he was giving us ideas on what he plans to do. He also said that he's going to be unveiling a funding strategy for infrastructure revolution in the South-South geopolitical zone. Quite a very interesting an article. But he was there, and he was there with the governor, Ben Ayade. They received him yesterday in Cross River State. Very interesting article to read.
We're looking to generate 260 billion from the sale of all, 5 of our national integrated power projects across the country. The 5 of them are Geregu, Ajaokuta. I'll get all the details, but the states, 36 governors of the 36 states have agreed with the federal government to finally lay their hands off this NIPPs. And there are Geregu, Ajaokuta, Omotosho, Olorunshogo in Ogun State, one in Calabar, and the Ihobo one in Edo State. And they said that these of the 5s have not been productive, and so they need to lay them and send them off. Of course, as expected, civil society is already criticizing this move that all the ones that we have franchised to private investors in the past are not performing as we thought they would perform. Right. But the DG of the Bureau of Public Enterprise insists that, this is the best option for these 5 plants that have remained redundant over the years. We'll see how it goes.
So, good news for our adopted auntie, Loretta Mochie, who has now been successfully with friends. She's a powerful woman, and we love powerful women. Yes. So she's been appointed. Her appointment has been approved by the Senate, which for me is good news for her and all our adopted sisters, family members. And it was contrary to rejection because I remember that Senator Serakia Dixon had rejected her based on the fact that she's from Delta, but she's not from an oil-producing area of Delta State. But that was discountenanced. 2 other people were not approved because they did not show up. Dr. Pius Obudu is former deputy governor of Edo State, and Anthony Okane from Imo State, Southeast. Both of them did not show up for their screening, and so they were disapproved. But many other positions have been filled. I am very happy because I've been following NEDC story for a long time. NEDC had been without a board for too long. People had protested over and over again. So whether we agree or we don't agree, let everybody come together and hold the NDDC new board accountable for what they should be doing in providing the palliative necessary to the people of Niger Delta.
Okay, so then moving on now to the Punch. Cash limits, reps order CBN to stay action, banks adamant. Germany begins return of 1,130 looted Benin bronzes. INEC needs 100,000 vehicles, 4,200 boats, says Yakubu. Siblings clash during father's burial. Soldiers kill guest. NFIU stops cash withdrawal from FG and state accounts. Governors FG agree on NIPPS sale to fund budgets. Buhari transmits finance bill. National Assembly passes budget on Thursday. Bombing. Civilian soldiers' deaths high. Zamfara governor laments. Let me start with the major headline, because if you recall, I had mentioned that the CBN governor was expected to be at the National Assembly on Tuesday to talk about the cash limits policy that was recently announced. Unfortunately, he didn't show up, and the reps have postponed his meeting till Thursday, which is tomorrow. In the meantime, they've asked that the CBN stay action on all the policy they were about to commence. The lawmakers insist that Emefiele must appear on Thursday or send a deputy to the National Assembly to answer questions on this new policy recommendation. Okay.
Yeah, the human interest story. A guest, David Chinonso, has been reportedly killed at Owode Ogombo community in Ibejuleki area of Lagos State after some military men stormed the burial of one of the late Matthew Ekpu. They said the uniformed men were numbering about 15, and they arrived at the venue in an attempt to stop them from burying the corpse. So what happened was the man, according to one of the daughters who was narrating the story to the Punch, had 10 children, and so he's been asking one of them to build a house for him. The first son was not able to meet up to the task. The second son built that house, and he built the house in the village, but then he wanted it in exchange with the house in Lagos. So after the man died 5th of September, he got ill and died. He kept reiterating that he had built that house in the village for the father in exchange for the house in Lagos. And the other siblings are saying, this is our family, this is supposed to be our family house, this is the only property our father has in Lagos, you cannot exchange it. So he's been coming to disrupt the burial. He doesn't want them to bury their father in his own compound in Lagos. And then he came with military men, and before you realized it, they started shooting, and one guest who just came for a burial was killed. Caught in the crossfires. So, but the police is aware, investigation has already started,
Okay.
Benin Bronze.
The Benin Bronze, yes. So the German government repatriated or commenced the process of repatriating 1,130 looted Benin bronzes to Nigeria, and they had a ceremony. That's the one that breaks my heart. Please can we just avoid the ceremonies and just do an inventory of the bronzes?
Honestly.
And return them,
Waste money for
the Minister for Foreign Affairs of Germany, and the the German Minister of State for Culture were both present, and our Minister for Foreign Affairs and Minister for Information and Culture were present at a landmark ceremony where they started the landing over.
Well, I don't know. I think it's such a significant event, because
only 22 of the 1,000
so far,
yes,
they said they began the procedure.
So every time you do ceremony, you bring another one, you do ceremony.
Guys, we're majoring on the minor. What for me is most important is the
Achievement of
the fact that these are bronzes that your forefathers made. The significance, the significance of, I would rather have that, and the presence of it on my soil is stronger than how much ceremony. That's not the point. Let's focus on the fact that
leave the ceremony. Let the Benin people do a ceremony to receive it.
For me,
do not.
I won't even touch it.
They waste money.
I don't want to touch it, because that's something the slaves touched. The slaves actually, because I don't remember any of the things that our slave masters.
They were not slaves. They were stolen. When they invaded our people. So it is something that is symbolic in the sense that, they invaded
eventually
us.
They were taken as slaves.
People were killed over these things.
So I'm saying that story is stronger to me. That's the forefront of the conversation.
We don't agree with the ceremony, but let's not focus on the ceremony and distract from
there are more important things. If now Igbo matter,
leave her.
If now Igbo matter, the way they will focus on the
see how walking stick the way she
let us go on a break. And we come back, because that's what. Anyway, let's go on a break.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We're still reviewing the papers. Let me move on to Daily Sun. 2023, Tinubu, Atiku, Obi rev up campaigns. They visit Cross River, Akwa Ibom, Katsina, and make mouth-watering promises. Labour Party PCCDG Okugwe steps down. Oshuntoku may take over. INEC to deploy 1 million vehicles. No, 0.1, that's maybe 500,000 vehicles. 4,200 boats for 2023 polls. FG to discontinue cash withdrawals from public accounts. Crisis rocks NHF over government's withdrawal of 40% workers' contribution. FG rakes in $547 million from 5G auction as NIMC database hits 93.5 million enrollments. That's great news. Osun Tribunal, INEC opens defense, tenders election results. Christmas, local airlines warn of flight delays, cancellations over aviation fuel scarcity. Okay, which story are we starting with?
There was a story we missed in the previous paper. Good news for Lagos and Ogun people because the Japanese ambassador to Nigeria, Matsunaga Kazuyoshi, you know, it took, they signed off a contract with a change of notes with the federal government. The federal government was represented by the Minister for Budget and Finance, National Planning, Zainab Ahmed. And the goal of this is to improve transmission line. And this is extremely important because DISCOs, GENCOs are always complaining about the fact that the GENCOs are generating and it is not getting to DISCOs because our transmission capacity is weak. So this is a contract. The fund will be available through JICA, and the project will be implemented by the Transmission Company of Nigeria. And the loan is aimed at enhancing the transmission grid and increasing the capacity. I think this is good news. I can't wait for them to properly implement it so that we see better performance from...
So let me... Go ahead.
Go on.
So in an honorable move, the DG of the Labour Party, Doyin Okupe, has stepped aside from his position following the Federal High Court's ruling that convicted him of receiving more than 200 million naira from the Dasuki Gate, that's the NSA Sambu Dasuki. He had sent a letter of resignation to the presidential candidate Peter Obi, saying that he remains committed to the presidential candidate and he will ensure that he will emerge victorious. He said specifically that you recall that I briefed you yesterday about my travails in seeking justice and clearing his name. In circumstance of this, I have opted to step aside and plead that you appoint a new campaign. He said, I have invested too much in your campaign to allow my personal travails to become a source of distraction, which I think is an honorable thing to do. Because the truth is that you cannot let your own personal issues taint the image of the person which you're trying to push. So I'm happy that he did that, and hopefully they should announce a new DG in the short time.
So we have good news, and I hope that they receive it well. The chief media analyst of the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, NFIU, has announced that the federal government is looking to discontinue cash withdrawals for all federal, states, and local government accounts. And according to him, this is a move that conforms with our Section 1 of the Money Laundering Prohibition Act. It says that consistent devaluation of the naira is also due to this kind of withdrawals. He said most withdrawals from government accounts, including payment for ESTA code, are often in excess of cash withdrawal limits, and it goes against the Money Laundering Act. He said that he exposes innocent public servants to imprisonment or being liable to imprisonment. He said that, so they've signed an advisory to the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, all governors and local government chairmen to direct all public servants to open domiciliary and naira accounts ahead of the commencement of the policy, which becomes compulsory by law. Fantastic. He also says that he has advised chairmen and governors, local government council chairmen and governors to please teach market men and women how to use ATMs and POS services.
Let me also take a story on deductions, because these deductions that are happening, the Housing Development Advocates Network has accused the federal government of deducting 40% of the National Housing Fund contributed by Nigerian workers. They are announcing this and accusing the government that the government has till the end of this year to refund the 40%. If anybody knows about the Nigerian National Housing Fund, workers contribute about 2.5% of their basic salary, some for 20, 30 years, with the expectation that when they want to buy a house, they can call up that funds. And the complaint by this advocacy group is they are unable to access the funds even after their work. And they found out that the government withdrew 40% of the money, which is domiciled with the central bank, of Nigeria, and they are making that information aware to everybody now that the federal government is withdrawing money that does not belong to them.
So INEC quickly is saying that they will require over 100,000 vehicles and 4,200 booths for the conduct of the 2023 general elections. The chairman, Mahmoud Yakubu, said this while they were signing the memorandum of understanding between the Commission and Road Transport and Marine Workers Union in Abuja yesterday. He said the elections will involve a nationwide deployment of over 1 million personnel, massive quantities of materials within the period of 2 weeks from state offices to 774 local government areas, 8,809 electoral wards, and 176,846 polling units across length and breadth of the country. And so he said they are trying as much as possible to ensure that all the materials they need will be available before the voters come on the day of voting. So voting will open at 8:30 a.m. on Saturday, February 25th. That's for the presidential and National Assembly elections. And then Saturday, March 11, 2023, for the governorship and State House of Assembly elections. So they're telling us how ready they are for the elections.
Okay, moving on quickly now to Vanguard. FG bans cash withdrawals from public accounts. NDDC Senate confirms Onoche and others. Yuletide transport fares skyrocket. Vote against LG, that's local government autonomy. NULG shuts down Ondo Assembly. Germany returns 22 Benin bronze artifacts to Nigeria. And billion van politicians responsible for CBN governor's travail, says Atiku. Okay, which story are we taking there? I was going to take the Akure story, what happened in Ondo. So the Nigerian Union of Local Government Employees, NULG, in Ondo State shut down, protested the State House of Assembly over their alleged plan by the lawmakers to vote against the local government autonomy. If you recall, we're still looking for as many states as possible that to ratify the constitutional review to give complete autonomy to the local government. The Assembly, however, called off its sitting to pass the 2023 appropriation bill into law following the protest by the council workers. The protesting workers vowed not to allow the Assembly members to access the complex until they guarantee them that they will vote for the local government autonomy. It's still interesting. Yeah. And I like that the people are taking it into their own hands.
Yeah, just based on speculation, they also mentioned that only 16 states in the country have signed the local government autonomy bill into... and I think that it is important.
They need 24. They need 2/3. So we're looking for they need 24 to pass it in the national. So many more states are asking that the House of Assembly should please pass it so that it can move to the national.
And this might be the best approach to go about it.
Alrighty, I think we got to wrap up soon. How much time do I have left? Let's move on to Nigerian Tribune. I have just a minute. Reps probe sale of crude oil from 2014. Agbakoba may go to court to seek declaration on EFCC's powers. Hajj 2022, Saudi Arabia refunds 107 million naira to Nigerian pilgrims for poor feeding. FG to stop cash withdrawal from public accounts. Don't destroy CBN with your selfish interests. Atiku Okoa warns politicians. And no plan to scrap NYSC, says federal government.
So quickly on the Hajj story, the Nigerian Hajj Commission has secured a refund for, to the company in charge of accommodation, transportation, and feeding treated Africans and Africans and non-Arab pilgrims poorly this year by not providing service at par, and they were able to secure a refund equivalent to 107 million naira loss.
That's good.
To that, I just don't know how it will be disbursed, but we know that they received that amount.
Any stories that can...
Yes, so the Minister of Sports and Youth Development, Sunday Dare, said there's no plan by the federal government to make the mandatory one-year National Youth Service Corps optional. They said the reason they instituted this in the first place in 1973 was to ensure unity in the country, and we understand the powers that the youths have. And so there's no plan to scrap it, there's no plan to make it optional, is what everybody's going to do. However, they've spotlighted some things that they want to reform to make it a better program for our young people.
Okay, that's all we can take on the front page review. When we come back, bring in our guests. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us once again. We are celebrating our ethnicity. That's why we're dressed like this. It's our final week of the year on Your View, and we just wanted to celebrate Nigeria as it is and unite ourselves. Say there's unity in diversity. So that links us to our conversation today. The topic we saw on the social media, which we thought was interesting. We've been discussing polygamy recently. I'm not sure why this issue of polygamy keeps coming up, but for some reason, it's important because these are new conversations we should have. You can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. Yes, so families need to rethink how they do things. Patriarchs needs to review how they do things. Matriarchs also must review how we've been doing this for years. And some of these stories that we see help us to see how we can review the practices we're so known for. I'll let Nima establish the story about a Ghanaian man, which is, the story is all over social media. Yes. He's a Ghanaian rich man that recently was sick, and there was a video about his family that went to social media, and it's important that we reference that situation for the conversation we're about to have. Nima, let me let you establish what happened.
The millionaire businessman, Alhaji Asoma Banda, is a Ghanaian and presently on a sick bed. He's been sick for some time and has been in the hospital bed recuperating, but he's not even as expected. But where he's trending, his wives were videoed in the hospital fighting over property and money. According to the report, family members have accused the second wife of the businessman of stopping others from having access to him, as the two other sisters of Alhaji wants him to be moved to a facility where he will be receiving medical treatment that they would choose. But the second wife is now accusing the first wife and her children of forging Alhaji's signature to siphon money while he's sick. In the video, you could see one person asking him, did you authorize this signature? Somebody that he could even barely hear, talk less of answer what they are telling him. And so this brings to fore again. But I would not want to look at it from polygamy. For BC will shoot me bullet. From polygamy, I would like to look at it because BC took a story today about a property where the children of a deceased were fighting to the extent they bring soldier. You know, how we comport ourselves after our loved ones pass, greed and a lot of other issues. And this life, how many days are we even on the earth that want to pack property into our chests, that kind of thing. So I'd like to look at it from greed, how we comport ourselves around loved ones when they're sick.
So thank you for establishing that. Now, as you know, in Your View, we don't like to talk about people. We just like to talk about issues to reference it for learning. So we won't talk about the nitty-gritties or the granular details of this story. But what's more important are the issues of patriarchy, number one, the issue of polygamy, the roles of the wives who... when the man is sick, how does he plan even before he gets sick? What happens to the first child, the last child? These are the issues we want to discuss because there are many people in that situation today, partying, enjoying their money, forgetting they have 3 wives, forgetting that anything can happen tomorrow. Recently, very, very prominent man recently passed. He has 3 wives. Thank God there's no issue. But the point is that people will pass on. Things would happen. And these are things men especially must begin to put in place and must begin to discuss, normalize the conversation. Because I do remember, let me share my own story, when my mom was ill and, you know, I was thinking really hard. Okay, Mom, see, there's not much for you that you have, but this tiny thing you have, what do you want to do? And she kept looking at me. She didn't respond. And because she didn't respond, I just kept quiet. I didn't want to probe further because it would be as if, are you waiting? So I just kept my mouth shut. But sometimes we need to normalize this conversation. Have it normally. What are your thoughts, Toko? Let me start with you.
So for me, I'll start by saying that no human being should plan his or her life on another person's labor. Even if the person is your parent.
Say it again. Say it.
No human being should plan his or her life on another person's labor, even if the person is your mother, your father, your brother, or your sister. That is the bedrock of all the problem. Because I had a customer that I was marketing, the person reached out to me and said, I don't really need land. My father has plenty land and I'm the one that will inherit all of them. I'm the only boy. And I was like, in my mind, repeat it again. In your mind, your father is not dead. And you are planning not to buy any property. You are enjoying your money because you feel you are the only son, you'll be the one to inherit all your father's property. These are the problems. People build their life around another person's wealth and are expecting that when the person passes on, they will take full possession. We need to stop doing that because that's why they will dishonor a man on a sick bed by fighting and transferring money amongst themselves. That is why a sibling, inter-sibling quarrel will lead to you bringing soldiers and they shoot and somebody will die. Don't plan. Everybody must know that people will help you out of generosity, but you plan your life based on your own income and what is in your pockets. If you cannot afford it, leave it.
And sometimes it's not just, let me just quickly follow on top. Sometimes it's not greed of either of the parties. Maybe somebody is even more disciplined and planning his life separately. But you have a sibling, probably you're like 10 children, and one of your sibling thinks, I have a right to everything. If because the rest of you chose to be calm, and that person's greed now gets away because the rest of you, you know what?
Let me expand on that. What you said is very important, but see, there are different angles to it. Let me take that story you just said. A man, for example, feels that my mother suffered, right? My mother was the one that was my father all through his life when he had nothing. You are the child of the wife that came in when everything was not established. You are the kept wife, right? Now the man has passed. I'm taking that authority because listen, you came to benefit. I'm taking over that authority. What do you think in that? So it's not a greed in his own mind. He's not being greedy. He's just taking what is rightfully his mother's position. Okay. How would you interpret that?
Okay, if you have siblings, there's nothing that is rightfully your mother, so they accept what your father owns. Because all his children, you can know, whether from different mothers or from the same mother. But if it's your mother's own, then you have a right. Even in polygamy, what is the woman's own is clearly for her children. Clearly. And except what goes to her husband if he survives her. But what is for the father? You cannot say because your mother is the one that was there. Maybe she was the only wife. She was the first wife. And then you owed everything. You know that another woman can be there.
Property that your mother suffered for with her husband. I'm just giving a scenario.
The same thing with the talk now. She suffered with her husband for property, but he has other children. And the property is his own.
Okay, let me hear your thoughts, BC.
Yes, so what I see is that we enable people who are entitled. And at the end of the day, we begin to complain that they are entitled. When people are around you, family members, your children, and you see that sense of entitlement, you start nipping it at the bush. You are not in a hurry to give out, give everything, give as they are requesting, you are doling out. The day you stop, you become it becomes a problem. The day you stop, you become a wicked person because you have enabled them along the line. There are certain things my children want and I say no, not because I don't have it, but I feel it's time for you to work for it. There's a job my daughter is doing right now and I said, she wants a phone. I said, you have to work for this. Don't assume that anything you want, you can just dole it out to you. You will work and earn your own. When you complete this project, I will give you a phone as compensation. I'm just trying in my little way not to get them so entitled that after all, you people have, so it should come to us. That's one. We enable people. When requests are coming, no matter how much you have, sift that request before you start. Don't worry, now let me just, is it not my brother? Is it not my cousin? Is it not my this? Is it not my... We enable them, and when it's time for you to go, then they start requesting and they start making claims on things, and you are saying, these people are entitled, but you have enabled them so far. So we need to check our relationship. The second thing I want to say is the fact that we need to start having painful conversations and start having it early, even with children. How many of us are ready to have conversations about death with our children? We don't. Hey, we believe in this part of the world that when you mention death, death will come. When you say, death, everybody go for it, they don't talk about those things. We hush it. And then anything happens in the yes, everybody's running helter-skelter. No proper plans are put in place because no conversations have been heard. We must have conversations on death. We must plan our death even when we are living. What plans do you have as a man? You are married to 2 wives, 3 wives. You don't have a will. You have not written anything down. You just want them to all of a sudden love themselves enough to share. You are not paying attention to the greed that they're already exhibiting when you are alive. You think when you're about to die, they will change? Please, men need, especially men who hold their homes. They need to sit up and put proper plans in place. Start having conversations. This is where I want to be buried. This is what I want you to do. This is what I'm handing over to this. This is what I'm doing for this. And don't be afraid that they will quickly kill you to collect it. If you're a good person, nobody will quickly kill you to collect anything. Let's normalize this conversation.
Let me go on a break. We started the conversation. We'd like to hear from you. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll hear from our viewers. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We're still discussing issues surrounding polygamy, patriarchy, matriarchy, and just family planning, pretty much. You can join the conversation. You can call us on 081-270-53687, 091-390-7694. It's also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag your view TVC so we can read your tweets. So we're going to add something to this.
Yeah, I want to talk about the role of a father. The role of the father, not as per se, I am a responsible father financially, but I am uniting my family, especially for those who have decided to go the way of polygamy. You have a huge responsibility because by standard, even when it is same mother, same father, there is huge competition between children. Now, put into that mix the fact that they are from different parents, mothers. It is extremely important that the father takes up the role of uniting his family. And it's a huge responsibility for you, and you must even document it because you know the trends. You know the one that is going to be a troublesome child. You know the one that's already showing that if anything happens, it would go haywire. And so you must already institute that how I want you to do when I go, how I want you to go when I pass. It must already be on ground. I don't believe that anybody should be 50 and not have a will. Even if you're 30, if you have anything to give, write a will. We don't talk about writing wills. Even I haven't been able to have this conversation with my parents because I'm like, have a will. Whatever is in your account, let me know your account, but let me know your password. I will not collect your money until you go. Let me know your account password because I cannot start. They got bank, and people don't realize before you can access the bank account of a late person, even with will, you will lose the money. Yeah. So if you just give me your ATM, your account.
No, you are not
password. I will help you to collect.
I had this conversation with my mom when she was ill, and we're battling. We had to make payouts for money, and I said, Mommy, let me help you because obviously she wasn't very totally together. So she was on the thing. I was trying to, and I helped her to do all the thing to punch a password. I said, Mommy, what's your password? She took it for me on our sick bed. I'm like, what is this now? But my younger brother has the number. Whatever, but she just I'm like, it was subconscious. No, it wasn't a trust issue because she trusts me.
No.
It was the subconscious that
I'm going to hide my
password was the hidden, even on your
it's the interests of the others that she's protecting. She's not lack of trust.
It's not that one.
They cannot know what. What exactly?
The password of your PIN number.
You don't have anybody that's coming to drag scarf from your head. If one person has password, one person is moving money. And the other person alerts.
Nima has all this. But please, let's just, because you see this thing that we're laughing over. Sometimes it makes the process extremely slow. The password, I know someone who passed on and the code of his safe in 2 different houses. The children, at least one of the children knew it. So it was a case of let's check uncle's, let's check the jury. They were able to share. It was all because the structure had been put in place that everything is equally shared amongst my children. So the part of building a good relationship is extremely important. Let your children love each other. And if you see you have a black sheep amongst your children, let everybody know this is a black sheep, and my black sheep should not be ignored, or my black sheep should be taken care of as well. Because when you, as some people, they write a will that the will is separating the family. You write a will that
you're not causing
problems in your family.
You are disinheriting one child. Maybe based, I handled one case.
Based on your anger with your wife.
So that case is so heartbreaking. This estate is about a 1970-something estate. So I made to search the will. Reading the will broke my heart. There was a case of, those days, the way the fathers would just say, well, this child, I disown you. And it was very rife in those days when people did not understand the implication of such statements. And the father wrote a will. But on his dying bed, he wrote a codicil at the addition to the will where he waived it. He did now provide for the children he had disinherited. When he wrote that will at the height of his anger, he wrote that these two, I just don't want to see them near the estate. On his sick bed, he called the lawyer and wrote a codicil. But in the codicil, he just said to the ones who he had given properties that provide something for your...
you don't do that. Something wasn't defined.
No, he was sick. Oh, no. Till today, that one who is the head of the family...
He don't chop everything.
Nobody say he chop everything. He's insisting that the original will, not the codicil, which everything is properly documented. I searched it at probate. I brought that will out of probate. I sat in my office, I read it, I almost cried. As in all of them now in their 80s. I said they don't die finish safe. Them themselves. He's saying like that those two will never.
And let him carry to heaven now. Was he born with anything? So what I've discovered is sometimes you don't know a child would be a black sheep till something happens. You'll be raising the kids. You're seeing some small things, but you feel they will outgrow it. You're seeing some little greed here. You bring something home and you ask them to share, and then you realize that this person is always taking more than the others. You're seeing those things, and in your head, don't worry, they will outgrow it. They're still children. I was like that till something happens, and then you start seeing that all of them did not turn out the same way. So the only thing is to hope and pray and ensure that while you're living, the love that you want to show, please try as much as possible to make it equal. Even if in your head you have your favorites, do not show that you have your favorite. That's one. On the other hand, I wouldn't tell you how to share your property. It's your property. You worked for it. Sometimes some children bring sorrow to their parents and they say, I'm not going to give you anything. Go and work for your own. Who am I to tell a parent not to do that? You have seen what you have seen and you have said what you have said. However, just ensure that you raise good children in a way that no matter what happens, they'll be able to come together, unite, and just decide to do what is right by each other. And it shows up on how you take care of them as a parent, how you are involved, how you teach them morals, how you make sure that they fight for each other. I get upset when I go outside and I hear somebody insulted your brother and you sat down there, you were not doing anything. I will be so cross with you. Why don't you defend? You have to defend your blood.
You must teach them to do it.
So you must defend your blood. It's not acceptable. Don't come and tell me they were insulting him and it was not me they were talking to and you sat aloof. I don't take that because I'm trying as much as possible to ensure that they have a bond. Anything can happen tomorrow. They are able to fight for each other. Once you sort that out, even with properties, they will sort out themselves.
So let me bring in another angle because there's so many. Because let's go back to this issue of this Ghanaian rich man. He's a billionaire. He has money. And there are lots of rich people that have money. I know of one, which I shared the story here several times before, where when he had, I think at the time he had 4 wives. I don't know how many wives he had at the point of death. He had 4 wives, and he took care of his children in his house. Every wife had their own apartment. Then the children go to school in one bus. One bus, all the children, they are fed, they eat breakfast together, they enter bus, go to school, come back, same lesson teacher, same everything. So one mother cannot say, I'm the one that took care of you. He took care of his children. So and he left leadership. And the children knew who was the oldest, so the respect and unity came ground up.
That's what I'm saying.
So when he left,
as a man,
yes, when he left, when they had the burial, every wife had their own tent, but it was out of, okay, this is our own tent, but the children were united, even till today. So it's about the planning.
From the beginning.
From the beginning. It's extremely important, especially in polygamy. Yes,
it's extremely important, but you see this thing, let's just talk about the inner heart of whoever is leading. What I have experienced, stories from family members that I have seen, where an only son survived the man. He disinherited his sisters. Although we've left it to come out, we are now saying certain things are because of certain things, but you look at your sisters as an only son, because we do Idiogbe where I'm from. You look at your sisters' soil when they have access to property and you say, no, you are keeping everything because you are keeping the estate of your father together. You sell, you chop. You collect rent, you chop. Your sisters go and they say, let's not look at property. You know, let's talk about that heart where this dying man, for instance, one wife is accessing funds for waiting. Are you managing the estate?
Let me pause you for a second, because I want us to bring in a different angle. There's a possibility
that the woman is involved in the business.
No. As even the children have abandoned this man. Sometimes the wife who single-handedly is available.
That's not the story.
I'm just saying, I know that's not the story. I'm just saying there's a possibility also that a man is left abandoned by his children and family. That it's only this one woman that stood by him. And when she stays by him, her children are there supporting her. Nobody, maybe for 10, 15 years, they don't see anybody. Because he's now almost dead. All of you now show up. Daddy. And the first son is saying, or the child that was there, he's going to say, I'm sorry.
It doesn't, let's be careful.
Before.
Your care, your love doesn't entitle you to everybody's share. What is jointly owned does not become your own for extra work. Let's be careful.
Very,
Extra work is extra work that you were there, you loved.
Yeah.
Except what the man puts in demarcation.
Yeah.
When my grandfather died, there was a property that my father started tilling around the house because his mom was falling sick and she couldn't go into the farms that was supposed to be her own. Before my grandfather died, he pronounced my father's name on that property. That this place is this person's sweat. He did it for his mom. He should not go far. You see this thing? That one person has work.
Yes.
If he doesn't pronounce it, if the man himself says,
so
this
it still
woman,
falls on that man.
exactly.
So
So
I like
if
that.
the man says, this woman has been with me.
Yeah.
This one I know.
It's for her.
Maybe you took a 20 million inheritance and you started a business that blew to multinational. You are controlling the whole of Africa, supplying the whole of Africa. You say, this woman, she's the source of my wealth. You pronounce her, that's a separate thing.
Yes.
But still doesn't entitle her to say, no, I gave him the 20 million. I own the property.
I gave him the 20 million.
Auntie, all his children. You can't disinherit his children after his death.
That's an important fact. Because
Disinheriting his children is another issue.
Let's be clear. Because many people think, because I stood there, because I'm there, I have more entitlement. You are saying from the purpose of the law, it doesn't make you extra.
Even morally.
Pronounced.
Even morally,
You're asking them that the man has died, they should go and suffer for their own. It's wrong.
Okay, let me take this call.
Except he did not recognize the death of
let
that
us
child.
take
I gave you the 20
Good morning,
million.
are you there?
It's in
Oh,
our
I'm sorry, I
story.
lost that call. I do apologize.
But I gave you the 20 million, no.
But
Wait. Stop.
if you want to rationalize it, yes. But on the face of the law,
I'm not even talking law, I'm talking moral.
No, leave moral first. You know, there's a mindset that comes to a woman when she is the only one catering for this man and they are building together. Like that typical example you gave, maybe other people have run away, nobody's around. And she was there, she was with him, she was suffering. Peradventure, the man forgets
Whenever we go to
write
that
it and
English.
say, this woman was the one that gave me the 20 million. Please, how do I recover my 20 million?
okay,
You
let me
show the
we'll
court.
we'll take the answer after the break. Or what if the other person has also giving them a four? There's an F4 factor.
Yes, so
a F4 factor in
they
this
are
one.
pro-
Let's go.
for my
The break will be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. Joining the show is the General Manager, Lagos State Parks and Garden Agency, Adetoyin Ibilolapopola. She will be discussing the state's plan for recreational parks at this festive period and even beyond. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you
Before
very
we
much.
go into your conversation, we have to wrap up our initial discussion. Let me come to you, Tokwe. You're going to add something before we wrap up on that.
Yes, I was going to add that at the end of the day, we must lead with love. We must be kind to one another.
Yes.
Even if they wrote your name in the will and say you should take everything, don't ignore your relatives. You know, don't ignore your siblings. Even if the parents die very early and the children are small, they cannot handle anything, and you are the brother or younger brother of the father, or you are a family member, don't mismanage the properties. Let's lead with kindness and lead with love. And every issue can be resolved if we are truly leading our emotional decisions, our decisions with kindness and love.
We'll continue to revisit this topic because, as I say, it's a continuous conversation. But I'd like to end with two things that I've heard on this table. First, from Obiajulu, but she said that when you enable people to be entitled, no, I think something like that.
Yes.
And don't enable people to be entitled and then start complaining of their entitlement. So you have enabled the entitlement in the first place, and we must cut it in the bud. It's nip it in the bud from childhood. And Tokwe said something really very profound. He said, never plan your life other people's sweat or wealth, which I think is profound. I think we can end with that on this segment. Welcome again to our show. Good to have you.
Thank you.
Is there anything you want to add to this matter? Or should we go straight to the official matter?
I'll leave it
What
to
are
you
your
guys.
thoughts?
I'm sure you guys have trashed the topic very well.
So the parks and gardens are open to public. This is the holidays. Everybody wants to celebrate, have a party. In fact, I must tell you, one of my guys wanted to use the park. When they're not charging money, it's not park. So what exactly, how are they available? And if they're available, how do we access them?
Okay, so the parks are available to the public. They're actually public recreational parks and gardens. Of course, we make some revenue from the usage of the parks to maintain the parks.
Okay.
But normally on a daily basis, anybody walks into the park is free to use from 1 to 10 people. Once you become a group of 10 and above, you pay, and it's a small token of 500 naira each to access the park. And you can have picnics, you can have birthday parties, bridal showers. We have all sorts of events at the park. For this festive season, in fact, our park in Murikola, VI, is booked for the entire season. All the weekends in December are booked. People have events, large events. And a lot of people, I guess since COVID, started having, getting used to having outdoor events. Because of, you remember there were COVID restrictions for indoor activities and all of that. So people turned to outdoor events. And so we have our parks booked back to back. In our Oregon Park, which was vandalized during the NSAS thing, was recently reopened. And we've been having events as well. It's also booked back to back. In fact, last week, Saturday, we had an event for children called Creative Gardening for Kids. The kids had so much fun. It was last week they organized that event. They had painting, we taught them how to plant. And we believe that, environmental education starts from when they're young. And so that was an opportunity for us to call a group of 50 children together and basically just teach them the rudiments of planting and encourage them to plant. So the parks are accessible to everybody and anybody because they are public.
So I just heard now that until you're up to 10, you have free use of the park.
Yes, absolutely.
Before as you are parking, there's a particular park not far from here that I will not mention. As you're entering on certain days, and I think it was during the week this particular time, there's a guy moving around asking you to show something for paying.
If it's, okay, so sometimes during the festive periods, we have partnerships with some other organizations who also organize events in the parks. So sometimes there might be paid events in the parks, but on a normal day outside of the festive period, walk into the park.
I just want to come and sit down and mind my business.
Oh, yes, absolutely. People come into the park to read, to do their homework. People just come there to relax. People come with their kids, even after school. And it's absolutely free to access the park as long as you're below 10, a group of 10.
Yeah, so recently I wanted to do like a pop-up shop at the park, and the bill they gave me for one day, I just pulled my slippers, put it on my head, and I ran.
To be honest, I'll say compared to other event spaces in Lagos, our parks are actually very, very reasonably priced. Yes, absolutely. If you compare...
Is there any way you can make it more reasonable? Because I don't want to mention the fee.
Is it possible we can have a website so that it's uniform? Because you can get a different price, somebody gets a different price.
No, our prices are actually uniform. We have a website and the prices are published there.
Okay.
In fact, the prices are published. The website is a dedicated portal for booking. It's called www.lastparklagos.gov.ng. And you can go in there, pick whichever park you want to read about the history of the park. You can pick the part of the park. So you may not want the entire park. Right. You may just want a section of the park. You can pick the different sections in the park that you want. And it tells you exactly how much it costs. So you won't go there and then somebody tells you a different price because it's actually there available. And even when people write to us and request to use the park, we respond to them in writing with the cost of the park. So
in case of emergency, are there ways, how safe are these parks for people?
So when we have large events or anybody else has large events, part of the requirement is that they must get a safety permit from the Lagos State Safety Commission. And so the Lagos Safety Commission itemizes the things that are required for them to have before the event happens. The Safety Commission even sends safety marshals to the park to just basically observe how they're setting up, how strong their stage is and stuff like that. They also mandate that, for example, there must be an ambulance on site at any given time once there's an event more than a certain number of people. In our Oregon Park, for example, we have a sick bay where we have a nurse that sits there. So if any children are playing around and then there's any slight injury, we immediately treat them, just give them some first aid. And then we have a very good relationship with the Ministry of Health. So even when there are any emergencies, we immediately evacuate the people and take them to the nearest public health center. So I believe that at least so far we haven't had any incident.
How maintained at this park? Because there's a park that was named after my dad, Kabasho in Bagada.
Yes.
And the time I went there, it wasn't well managed. And I was wondering, so is it that some parks have been abandoned, or are they the main parks, or?
No, we don't abandon our park. But that particular park was actually handed over to the community. Oh. So the community is supposed to be responsible for ensuring. Well, we can look into it. And I've actually had this conversation with someone 2 days ago, actually. And I've asked people to go there. And they're going to go there and give us a report on actually what's happening there. And then we'll see, and then we'll decide what to do from there.
Just don't change the name, please.
No. It's a legacy. It's a legacy park. We won't change the name. So the names, before we name the parks, they're very carefully thought through, and they're people that have contributed immensely to the growth of Lagos State. So we won't just wake up and change the name of the park.
So double-edged question.
Yeah.
On one hand, since you've rented out a lot of these parks, are there any parks that are still free for regular Lagosians to show up? If you said some of those parks have already been rented for the season, and that means that the average Nigerian that doesn't want to attend any event, who just wants to enjoy going to a park, are there any free parks available for them? One. Number two, I've always had issues with the fencing of the parks because I feel like it's counterproductive and very expensive because you spend money fencing the park. The people that you're fencing out will tear down the park. And after like a few months, you will fence again. Maybe a year, you will fence it again. So we're spending money refencing a park that it should be open to the people, you know. So
okay, so let me answer your second question first. So, we don't, if you notice, the kind of fencing we do in our parks is actually see-through. You can actually see through from the road to the park. So the fencing is not to block people out. It's actually just to be able to create some sort of security around it, because you cannot have security officers at the entrance to the park and then everywhere else is porous. So the fencing that you see there is to protect the people that are inside the park. But they're usually very see-through parks. So even someone standing outside can see what's going on, and you can actually, you want to go in there to experience what is happening at the park. And secondly, the parks are actually still accessible to everybody. However, what I mentioned was that there's some events on some days. They're fully booked in terms of weekends. So there are events back-to-back in most of the parks. However, during the week, you can still walk in at any time.
So, just so we're clear, if you and I want to go to the park, we can just go enter right now, nobody will stop us.
Nobody's
If we want to have a party, an event, that's when we need to go to the website, get the costing, and get the details.
Absolutely.
Let's go on a break. When we come back, we find out who we're talking to on the other side. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So we still have our guests with us, and we've discussed your official duties. But we also know that the daughter of one of a very prominent, though she's late today, you're the daughter of Chief Mrs. Kemi Nelson, and we lost her.
Yes.
Was it last year or this year?
This year.
Yeah,
Not too long ago.
July, not so long ago. And of course, Lagos was shut down because she was such a prominent woman leader in the state, and many people have known her and connected to Chief Mrs. Kemi Nelson. How has it been? I mean, especially because you are her oldest child, I believe.
No, I actually have an older brother.
You have an older brother, because many people thought you were the oldest child.
No.
But how do you feel do you feel like you need to fit into her shoes? Because she had this huge personality that everybody just knew her. There's no event in this Lagos. If you don't see Chief Mrs. Nelson up there, it's not an event.
Well, I wouldn't lie, it's been really tough not having her around, especially now, you know, because she was big on politics, touching people's lives, social impact and all of that. And now with all the campaigns and politics going on, she would have been thriving at this time. So it's especially difficult at this time. You're right, she left really, really huge shoes to fill. But myself and my siblings, I mean, we're trying not to be under pressure to fit into those shoes, because there can only be one Kemi Nelson. And, you know, you trying hard to fit into those shoes, you know, is literally like you're struggling. But, you know, our hope and our belief is that we would take from the mistakes that she made, learn from those mistakes, leverage on the relationships that she built, and because a lot of her friends, you know, reached out to us, a lot of her colleagues, a lot of her mentors, mentees reached out to us, and then they've been very supportive. My brothers and I are doing very well in our various chosen careers. We're not very outgoing people as much as she was. I think I'm the only one that really...
so people didn't take after her in that regard?
Not in that regard, no.
So what would be some of the legacies you think she's left behind that you would like to... I know you don't want to fit into her shoes, but what were some of the things you learned from her you would like to continue?
Oh, my mom was very giving. She could literally give the clothes off her back. She never hoarded anything. She was always giving things out. So I think we've come to learn that way, to always be giving. She loved people. She loved having people around her. You know, sometimes we'll be in the house, there'll be like at least 30 people in the house. And we just, pass the corner and just go and sit one place. So that is also something that we've learned, that you must have people close to you. You must have people around you that you can lean on, at any point in time. She loved women. She loved the women agenda. She loved impacting people. She had so many people that she was looking after, taking care of. So myself and my brothers have thought, she had a foundation called Kemi Nelson Foundation, and we've thought that, within the next 1 year, we need to take over that foundation and see, what can we do in line with the kind of things she was passionate about, and see if we can maybe provide scholarships for girls, do things for people that she would have ordinarily done. So those are the kind of things that we've...
So I wanted to focus on you, but you cannot talk. Once you put the spotlight on Kemi Nelson, you cannot hear it.
It's okay, I'm used to that.
Anything around. So she was a people's person. Yeah. She managed people. That skill, how much of it did you inherit, learn from her? How is it helping in your present position?
Well, for work, I've worked in private sector. I'm now in public sector, and I would say it took me some time to, move into and understand the way public sector works. Because in private sector, give your targets, you meet your targets.
That's it.
Done. No story. We don't have to be friends. Just do your work, and I move. But here it's different because now everybody's my stakeholder. I have my staff, I have my colleagues, I have my bosses, I have the public. You have to be able to manage people. My mom every morning, my mom will call me at 6 a.m. exactly and pray. She did the same for myself and my brothers, my husband, my brother's wife. And she used to pray for each one of us. And the one prayer she used to pray for me is, just be patient. Just be patient. Just be patient. And I've learned that you need to be patient when you're dealing with people. Yes, I'm the kind of person that I just want to provide solutions and move. But then you cannot provide solutions for people that you don't understand.
In isolation.
You cannot, because you're just fixing the problem, but you're not looking at the person behind the problem. So you also need to be thinking about, what do these people really want? What are they yearning for? What are the needs of the people? How can I solve those problems? So even in my job, in creating parks, for example, we need to be looking at what kind of things do the people want. So you just go somewhere, plant grass, and you think you've done it. But then you go back in 6 months and you see the young boys playing football there. So that tells you that it's not grass they want. They want something, a place where they can commune. So you provide that for them, and then automatically they want to take responsibility to take care of that place and make sure it works. So that has also helped me in dealing with my colleagues. At first, we used to fight all the time because I was just like, I don't want to hear people, just give me the results. But then you realize that you need to, know about their homes. You need to ask about their children. How are you doing? If they tell you something, oh, my child was ill, you ask about them. It makes you a better person. It makes you... Exactly, you have that connection. So even when you tell the person jump, they ask you how high. Because they believe that you actually do love them and have their interest at heart.
I wanted to ask you, how's your husband? How are the kids? How do you manage marriage? But I feel that this is a more important question. Many people tend to see children of politicians and any achievement they have as being affiliated to the political people, the person they got it from, your mom, or you identify. They don't see your hard work. They don't see the fact that you might have earned it or it was a merit thing. How has that been when you came into this position? And how did you feel you walked your way out of it?
Okay, so anyone that knows me, even from when I was working in the bank, knows that I was one of those people that I didn't like to talk about my mom because I never wanted that to overshadow my work. So I remember one time I was in the bank, I used to be in customer service, and someone came, what's your name? Then I was not married. What's the name? Tony Nelson. Oh, are you related to Kemi? I said, no.
You denied straight.
Do you understand? I remember in primary school one time, my mom had to call my brothers and I to ask, are you ashamed of me? Are you ashamed of the work that I do? And we're like, no, it's just that it gets really overwhelming. My mom contested for Senate, House of Rep, then we were much younger. But I remember clearly in primary school, my mom would put her handbills in our bag and say, take it to school, go and give your friends, to give their parents. And we get halfway in school and we fling it out of the window. Like, no, I'm not doing that. But, you know, with time, we came to understand, you know, her passion, you know, because politics is actually a job. People didn't see it as a job, especially for women. In the past, it was just carry a bunch of women together, give them gilly, and then they go and start singing. But when we saw the kind of conversations she was having, the kind of people that she was meeting, the kind of opportunities she had, we grew to understand and appreciate, you know, that in her. Even when I got to the public sector, you're right, it did becloud some people, you know, so they come and say, that Camille also did that. They already have an impression about you, that she must be this, she must be that, she must, you know. But I used to have to work extra hard to make sure that, look, forget it. This is me, this is my work. I love my work to speak for me, you know. And luckily, I work in the Ministry of Environment where if you don't do it, it's obvious. If you do it, it's obvious, you know. So I didn't have to struggle too much to show my work. But again, there's always sometimes that bias where people already just imagine.
You're going to look into politics anytime
where
soon?
you're coming from.
Get into politics?
Well, never say never, but for now, I'm good. I'm good where
We have to wrap up, but I think there was one question about the parks that popped up in my mind. Most of our parks don't have parking spaces. What are you looking to do to that?
Well, the ones that are recreational parks, the large ones, JJT, Nubisi Kanu Park, they have parking spaces. Oregon Park has a huge parking space. The one at Murikola is the one that I know has issues, but I've had a conversation with the governor recently, and then we decided on what to do to solve that problem. But as a temporary solution, when people have large events, we have a good relationship with the law school, Nigerian Law School, and King's College, and people use those spaces as car parks. But eventually, in the next few months, going into next year, we've come up with a new design where we can accommodate parking, and then you should be able to solve
There's only one question for you online. Andrew says, how do you deal with the scourge of area boys at Lagos parks?
Okay, so the area boys, like I say, everybody's a stakeholder.
Good boys of Lagos.
So even those good boys of Lagos are our stakeholders. And so what we try to do is also engage them. Sometimes we use them to act as security to the space. You know how they say, once you are part of something, you don't want to see it destroyed. So we work with LASMA, we work with the Neighborhood Watch and the Good Boys to also provide security, traffic management, and all of that.
I noticed that one of the meetings I had recently from some government event, one of the leaders of the Good Boys was part of our meeting because he was part from the ground up, so he was able to talk to his people. He was a part of the entire event.
That's how to engage.
That's how to engage. Okay, that's all we can take on today's show. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure interviewing you and speaking to you. Well done with your work, and we hope to see more. Oh yeah, our outfits. Yes, so once again, we'd like to appreciate our stylist Anu Bamigboye for our beautiful attires today. Her brand name is Anu Bams, and her Instagram handle and Facebook handle are Anu Bams Signature. Please call her number 0813-1517992, 0803821853. Some of you are having costume parties this year.
Yes.
Hey, Anu,
good styling.
Look it up. All right, see you tomorrow. Bye for now.